Have you ever noticed how schools keep repeating the same 5 names when it comes to Black history? Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and then it just stops. For decades, the world repeated the same Black history names like a broken record. MLK, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, powerful figures no doubt. But behind these familiar icons lies a massive shadow of forgotten brilliance. Not forgotten by accident. Forgotten because the system simply didn't care to remember. Now here's the part that hits like a punch to the chest. In 1915, a 23-year-old Black woman quietly invented the first effective treatment for one of the most terrifying diseases in American medical history, and then died before the world even knew she existed. Worse, a male doctor tried to steal her life's work and erase her name from the record. If he had succeeded, we would not be telling her story today. Her name was Alice Augusta Ball, and the world she lived in tried its best to swallow her legacy whole. But you're about to hear the version they never taught. The raw, complicated, inconvenient version. Today's episode is going to challenge the way you think about history, medicine, and the cost of brilliance. This isn't just a biography. This is what happens when a genius outpaces her time, and her time kills her before she becomes unstoppable. Let's start at the beginning. Alice Augusta Ball entered the world on July 24, 1892, in Seattle, Washington, born into a family that defied stereotypes, long before society even had the vocabulary to describe them. Her father, James Presley Ball Jr., was a lawyer and a magazine editor. Her mother, Laura, was a photographer, and her grandfather, James Presley Ball Sr., was one of the most respected photographers in the United States. A man whose portraits included Frederick Douglass, politicians and cultural icons. Yet somehow, in a cosmic twist of irony, only one surviving photograph of Alice exists today, her graduation photo. A woman born into a family of photography, and nearly erased from every lens of history. That irony alone tells you the kind of uphill battle her story faces. Growing up, Alice wasn't the noisy, outspoken type. She was the kid who preferred dismantling problems quietly. Science wasn't her hobby. It was her mental oxygen. Teachers recognized it. Her family recognized it, and the University of Washington recognized it early. She earned not 1 but 2 bachelor's degrees. Pharmaceutical chemistry. Pharmacy. 2 degrees before most people finished deciding their major. But her ambition didn't stop there. She moved to the University of Hawaii, a bold decision at a time when Black women barely got accepted into academic spaces, and she became the first woman and the first African American to earn a master's degree in chemistry from the institution. Let that sink in. First woman, first African American, master's in chemistry, early 1900s. This wasn't just unusual, it was historic. Her thesis was so advanced that it impressed her professors instantly. They recruited her to work on one of the biggest medical challenges of the time, a disease that terrified society so much, it turned patients into exiles. That disease was leprosy. To understand how big Alice's contribution was, you need to understand the world she stepped into. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, leprosy wasn't just a disease, it was a sentence. It disfigured. It damaged nerves. It isolated people permanently from society. If someone showed symptoms, authorities forcibly removed them from their homes and sent them to leper colonies, entire communities separated from the world, waiting for death or disability. The emotional trauma was as brutal as the physical pain. At that time, the only treatment was chaulmoogra oil, extracted from tree seeds. The oil was thick, bitter, and impossible to absorb. Doctors tried rubbing it on skin, swallowing it, or injecting it. None worked well. Patients vomited, developed blisters, or suffered infections. It was a medical dead end. Then came Alice. At 23 years old, she used her mastery of organic chemistry to break down the oil's active compounds, modifying them until they became water-soluble. This meant the medicine could finally be injected safely into the bloodstream. This breakthrough became known as the Ball method, the world's first effective treatment for leprosy. It saved thousands of lives. It changed how doctors treated the disease globally. And now comes the ugly part. After Alice died, the head of her department, Dr. Arthur L. Dean, quietly continued her research, presented it as his own, and attempted to rename her discovery the Dean method. He tried to write her out of her own legacy. Imagine being 23, doing the impossible, saving lives, and then a man with a title swoops in to erase your existence. Thankfully, another professor, Dr. Harry Holman, refused to let the lie stand. He publicly stated that the method belonged to Alice Ball, not Dean. But by then, Alice was already gone. She never got to defend her work. Today, the medical community finally acknowledges her contribution. There's even a short film about her called The Ball Method. But let's be clear, recognition came a century too late. Alice Ball's life ended on December 31st, 1916. She was 24 years old. 24. Some believe she died from exposure to toxic chemicals she handled during research. Others say the truth was lost in paperwork and neglect. But this much is clear. She didn't live long enough to see the world changed by her discovery. She didn't get to publish groundbreaking research under her own name. She didn't get to see the thousands of patients treated with her method. She didn't get the career, the fame, the recognition, or the life she deserved. Her story is a reminder, a harsh one, that brilliance doesn't guarantee safety, talent doesn't guarantee longevity, and history doesn't guarantee memory unless someone fights for it. That's why we tell these stories. Because if we don't, who will? Alice Ball had only 24 years, yet in those 24 years, she achieved what entire institutions failed to do for centuries. And if that doesn't inspire you to stop making excuses, nothing will. Thank you for watching another episode of The Lost Trails. Hit like, share, and subscribe. And keep learning the stories they never wanted you to know.